of the August 2018 meeting of the Board of Directors to order. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. So, that's cute. So does anyone have any corrections, questions regarding the July 12th regular meeting?
So moved. Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Chairperson's report. Monday, Larry Scott and I attended the Rotary Club's meet, I guess they meet twice a week for their general membership meeting over at Lionsgate, presented the plaque that we for appreciation on behalf of the Park District and the North Highlands community for the jobs that they did over both at Freedom Park and at Streets Park. So that went really well. Also had the privilege of speaking with Sue Frost, who was the keynote speaker, and she also sat at our table. So hopefully, going forward, we can partner up with her and her staff and regarding community issues in the district. Also, I'm sorry I missed the National Night Out last night, but I did catch the live feed, so I'm telling you, North Island's community knows how to move. So I caught it right before they started the show.
Oh yeah. No, I guess they had a great time and stuff. They said probably about 150 people probably attended it, so that's still a good amount on Tuesday night. So yeah, so it's good enough.
I mean, considering a lot of communities have events going on too, so I mean, it's awesome that there was a great turnout. So, all right, so that's all I have. Any comments from my fellow board members?
Yeah, I got a couple. Which I brought up a few times, the CSDA conference that I'm signed up for. I still haven't canceled my second room, but they have called me twice now. You have 2 rooms booked. So just clarify, nobody else is going, right? Okay, I'll go ahead and cancel second room. The second thing is just to remind my fellow board members. I'm looking at Terry, I was going to wink at her, but remember, you have to do an ethics class, and do we have to do a sexual harassment class now too? Yeah, that's what I thought. So don't forget to do those, because if not, you're not in compliance with the law and you could be fined. So make sure you guys get everything done if you haven't done it yet. Because I actually took the ethics at a different conference last year, and I brought to everybody a copy of that, so she's happy.
And when you get your CSDA notices online, they frequently include online, you can take the course online.
Right.
So if you can't
You
physically
can't go to live on it, right?
you can do it that way too.
So.
Now, the sexual harassment, that's the AB 1825? Or is there, or did special districts have an elected
I'm not sure,
officials
because
have a
the
different
ethics
one?
is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's.
if that's the same as the count, is the same as the county one,
Right, I don't know.
because I just took mine.
I don't, well, there's a difference possibly for electeds compared to employees. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not an expert in that. So, I thought I had something else, but I can't remember what it was, so I'm good.
Thanks for the reminder
No problem.
on classes. Pat?
This election thing, we find out tomorrow if there's someone running, right?
That's what I was talking to Terry before the meeting.
Yeah.
It actually closes tomorrow, so probably Monday. We'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah, because anyone who's in the door at 5 o'clock,
Right.
They
Yeah.
can still file, do their oath and all that.
Yeah, 'cause I was looking at my paperwork last night at work while I was working. Man, I'm gonna be logged into a meeting.
And since all 3 of us filed, if one of us didn't, it would have got extended for a week. But since we all filed, it's tomorrow.
So they notify You guys?
Usually Tara's
We
got.
can go online and find out.
Yeah, that or you call.
I mean, 'cause I was trying
Drive.
to drive through the stuff.
If possible, when you find out, can you just send us all an email?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you want to know how many people filed for any of the offices in Sacramento County, get up there. They've always told me. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want anybody calling, that's why Tara called.
Oh, I know, but just, you just.
Well, no, I know a few people there that would look for me, but I don't know.
All right, reports from standing committee, so budget, finance, and audit
Yeah,
was the only
we're
one
on the
that
agenda.
is on the agenda. Okay, administrators report. Larry, do you have anything you'd
Yeah, we
like
have-
to?
Yeah, we have a couple of additional items as well, but first of all, I want to just briefly talk about the security services agreement, and I'll turn that over to Mark. Mark and Scott were tasked with interviewing some security firms so that we could enter into a contract specifically to provide security services for facility rentals, not for what Paladin did that, and also provided security for our parks. And I'll turn it over to Mark and let him go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so for the security for special events, as you know, we moved on, in our contract with Paladin. So Larry tasked me with trying to find a security company for it. So I reached out to probably 4 or 5 different parks and recreations in the area, found out who they were using. We called a variety of different security groups. All of them had good references. It came down to 2, and we settled on American Security Professionals. Not because of the price, but actually what we love about them is they are not a huge organization. We feel like they'd be a priority for us. We'd be a priority for them, sorry. They also currently do Woodland School District and all there, so they have, they're notable. They work for like Mission Oaks, Parks and Recreation. I got a great reference on them. Scott and I got a really good feel for them. One thing that's really unique about them, special, is if they're working an event, they can actually have something real time, do the reports. Scott and I can sign in while that's going on, and we can actually see what's going on. So if an incident happens where the guard says, hey, I patrol the building at 6 o'clock, we can see that. We'd be able to track it a lot easier. This for us is really important, what's going on. So when we settled on them, we feel like they're going to be a good fit. They're actually going to be starting, they have 3 events for us in September. So we'll get to know pretty quickly coming up here next month. So September 1st is the first time that we'll use their services.
So do we actually have a contract for a length of time, or just when we need it, we can use them?
We do for 1 year.
1 year?
Yeah, we're on a 1-year contract.
Larry, anyone have any questions?
So the Ford, I saw,
Yeah, it's
I'm going, wow, that's pretty good.
they have great references. So I realize they're a new company. They're about 3 years old. So I think it's going to just build in there for yourself. So I'm really happy.
Good job, thank you.
Yeah, I want to go to the swim team update, and I know it's a little bit of a lengthy report there, and I won't go through and read all the key points, but 3 weeks or so ago, Mark and I met with 2 of the representatives from the swim team, Ada Burgett,
Correct.
who is the president, and then you will remember the second name, Sarah, who used to be one of the board members. And it turned out to be nearly a 3-hour meeting. And actually, it was one of those meetings I'm glad we had. And not to get into all the details, but basically they were coming to us because they're having struggles as an organization. And they didn't come to us with their hand out. They came out looking for us to have a conversation to see what came out of it. And I thought it was a good conversation, and I thought some good ideas came out of it. But as you see from the report, they are struggling with their swim team costs are starting to escalate. They're on our end as well. An individual swimmer now is nearly $150 to swim, and a little bit less for the families for registration fees. There's also the NorCal fees, and the swim team has to do a significant amount of fundraising, and that was a kind of a bone of contention with them because I don't know if it's just the makeup of the team right now, but they did not feel they were getting a tremendous amount of support from the families as they normally do for fundraisers. Not just putting on the fundraisers, but actually the result of the fundraisers. They weren't getting the money in that they normally do. And they were concerned that they weren't going to be able to pay their bills if we didn't have this conversation. The other part of it is, through having this conversation that I was unaware of, and I think I see it as an easy solution, is the query agrees. And that is they've been holding back $5,000 to $7,000 a year to pay for their crab. As you know, you heard earlier talking about crab feed. Well, it's in February. Well, the season's over with now. They're sitting with about $6,000 or $7,000 right now, I believe, in their checking account. But they can't spend that on operations. They have to hold that because they have to pay for the crab in advance, and then they repay themselves through the proceeds from the crab feed. But again, that money is basically untouchable. And I'll talk about some of the solutions. Right now I'm just kind of discussing some of the challenges. And the other one too was a fairly significant one, and that was equipment. And if we kind of break things into soft costs and hard costs. Soft costs are those things that are pretty much disposable type of things, low cost, for trophies, awards, and printer ink and those kinds of things, versus a dire need they have for chairs right now. And unfortunately, while we have a storage area full of chairs, they're all metal and not the kind you want to have in the hot sun. And we didn't want to make these available because you see they're a different type of material. They're not really made for the outdoors. That and the fact that they are in need of a significant number of pop-up shade structures. Periodically, they need to replace computers and printers, and as some of the board members probably remember, I think it was about 3 years ago, the district actually bought the swim team a clock, and it was right around $6,500, $6,800, fairly significant, and because they were trying to save for that, and they had been trying to save for 5 years and weren't making much headway doing it. So they are facing some significant financial challenges. They're facing challenges of getting their parents involved, and I think Ada kind of summed it up by saying that when you're walking in the grocery store and the swim parents see you and they walk the other way because they're afraid they're going to be asked to volunteer again, and they felt like the board is just spending the vast majority of their time strictly trying to get parents involved in the fundraising and organizing the fundraising versus all the other duties that they have. So through this discussion, we came up with some ideas, and again, no promises were made. I said I'd share them with the board, and then we'd come back at a later time to see if there's some opportunities here. As the board is aware, when I came on board, we had our own swimming pool. It was on school district property, but it was our swimming pool. We no longer have that. We invested about $30,000 a year in operating costs for that pool. And that included 20 hours a week of one of our park foreman, who was the one that knew how to operate all the pool equipment. So the district has already had an outlay of about $30,000 for that. Currently, we don't have the pool, but our operating costs are $3,000 to $4,000. I put 3 in the report, and Mark said it's probably a little bit higher than that. So say it's $4,000. So by not having a pool, we actually are saving over $25,000 a year by not having to put that money out. The crab feed, as I mentioned before, possibly the district could budget for the crab feed and repay itself from the proceeds. As Mark said, we're now putting it online, so the families don't have to show up, write checks, and have the checks being pushed around. They can actually register now online to pay for the crab feed. So the money, when that happens, it directly comes to us. There's no middleman. And from the conversations we had with them, they are raising the money to cover their costs for the crab feed. So I don't anticipate we're going to have to subsidize that. But just by doing that frees up the checking account money they have, about $6,000 or $7,000, and allows them to immediately use that for operations. And again, I don't expect the district to just jump in and start buying equipment, but at the same time, we need to start looking at what type of equipment they use and that we have, or equipment that we have an anticipation of buying in the future, and making sure that that's available for them to use. There are, sometimes I think that, and I know that Pedro, you and Alan were very involved with the swim team operations. Sometimes I think they think that they're kind of an island on their own, and they're no different than any other district program we have, except that it's a very expensive program to run. And it's a little bit challenging, but it is a district program, and we need to treat that the same way that we do any other program that we have. And so I think there's an opportunity there as we look to see equipment needs as we come around to budget. If we use pop-ups all the time. So if we have a stash of pop-ups, there's no reason why then when we're not using them, they can use them. The chairs that they need, it just happens my wife and I bought 25 of them ourselves. I don't know why she wanted 25, we got 25. Of these plastic chairs at Lowe's or Home Depot, I can't remember which one. They're like $6.5 a piece. Okay, they probably don't have a lifespan of more than 3 or 4 years, but you're not paying, how much for these, we pay, Scott? Yeah, you're not spending that capital outlay. So the bottom line is, through this discussion, I really believe that we have an opportunity here that we need to take advantage of. Most important, if anything, is we need to close that gap of having staff in the district work more closely with the swim team. Because just in that brief period of time, some of these solutions came out that no one had brought up before. And the district does have a policy that it does not subsidize programs, but let's be honest, we subsidize a lot of programs, and we have for many years. When we were running that pool and we were having a cost of $30,000 to operate the pool, that's a subsidy. And I think we can come back and easily change that policy if the board was supporting it, to simply say that the district understands that there's a need on occasion to subsidize certain programs, as we do with the seniors. And again, why we haven't banked the money, that's the savings essentially we have, but there's no specific account that says the money saved from operating the pool is now in this other category. It's not there, but I think there's a possibility here that we could look at trying to bring down those costs a little bit for the swim team registration, so that it's not such a hit for some of the parents. We provide some scholarships, but not a lot. And the swim team, even part of the fundraising is to raise money to offer scholarships. But if you've got 3 kids in the program, what does that run you, Mark, right now on your current fees?
So
You have 3 kids.
yeah, probably 370.
Yeah, 370. That's the check you got to write today. Then you get another 45, I think, in NorCal fees for 3 kids. And you start to see these costs escalate. Well, that's a very expensive program.
So the NorCal fees are in addition to.
In addition to.
Really? So
Yeah.
that used to be, when I was the president, that used to come out of that money.
Yeah.
They changed it where every parent has to go themselves and actually sign on NorCal. So we could accept, we could accept the fee anymore, because we could do the registration forms and the fee had to go to.
Okay, yeah.
So if the board is interested, I'm not asking you to make a decision today, but if you are interested in pursuing this further, I'd like to come back probably next month, because they're now starting the planning process. They got a new board, like the new board now to start the planning process for next year. We come back with you to talk about more specifically how these options will work and some ideas that we have to, again, help bring those costs down so it makes it more affordable, which again, at some point, we don't want to get to the point where we priced ourselves out of having this money. They had great success this year. We have a great coach, and I think that their spirits are pretty high right now. It's a good time to kind of push that along in a good positive direction. So if you're interested, I'll answer any questions you have, but if you're interested in having the staff come back with a specific report, we're going to do that.
I just have a question. I guess Pedro's going first, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, we won't put our hands up, that's fine, go ahead.
I'm just kind of curious, when we say subsidy, you know, I mean, I know that's a pretty vague term for, like, you know, the green guy, right? But I'm just kind of curious, are we saying like you were saying, like pop-up tents and chairs, or are we saying subsidy to help certain families with cost to join the swim club?
Yeah,
Or is it all encompassing? I mean, what is the breakdown?
in general terms, Pedro, and this has been going on for as long as I've been in Parks and Recreation, the word subsidy means whatever it is you want it to mean. If you want to fully load every cost involved, to the point where I worked for one agency where we had to build in percentages of utility costs, staff costs, down to mailers going out, and then you look at that, well, some agencies, they had no choice. Back 20, 30 years ago, the money was real tight, so they changed the kind of the formula that said that you had to, basically, you had to have, every program had to pay for itself by whatever terms you decided to have to, kind of a menu, what goes to that menu. To the point of subsidy means, you could mean, we're going to isolate a subsidy to say for registration costs, but nothing else, for equipment, but nothing else. So there is no, it's a generic term. It can mean whatever it is you want it to mean. Our policy basically is fairly generic. It just basically says the district policy is not to subsidize programs. If we didn't subsidize certain programs, we wouldn't have such programs, because if you live in Rockland, or you live in Roseville, or you live in Granite Bay, you know, the standard of living there is probably much different than here, where families struggle to just pay the lowest fee for a program. You're not going to have that other places. So, and a long-winded answer to your question, it can mean whatever it is you want it to mean.
And this is one of our bigger youth programs, if not the
It's
biggest.
probably our second largest.
Well, in numbers, and when you look at total cost, including fundraising costs, which could be equal to sometimes the cost of what they're paying for registration, it's clearly, I think, our most costly program.
Yeah, youth basketball, winter youth basketball can get like around 140 kids. But the cost is so much significantly less than it was for adults.
So in some cases, in most places I used to work at, had, you want a program, you had a list of programs that are designed to recover their costs and then some, ones that are designed to be break even, and those which are going to be subsidized because of the very type of reason we're talking about now.
Couple things. First of all, like I said, it's been 20 years since I was president of the team. Like I said, when I was there, the fees collected went to the league. I mean, yeah.
It's $15 back then, come on.
What? It was 90 bucks a kid back then. It was 90 bucks a kid. But that's, to me, that's always been a program that's just not, it's a whole, it's for the whole district. I mean, this one brings kids in, and you know, I don't want to see this go away, and I've always said that. But when I was president, it was a different mentality with staff, because at that point, all that our fees paid for, and pretty much all of it went to the district, was for the coach's salary and a couple other little things. Other than that, you know, it was on the swim team board to raise the money for everything else. Now, I'm not saying that's how it should be, but I don't know how long ago, we had to buy a Colorado starting system. And that was, what are they now? $8 grand, 10 grand?
Well, it was 6,800 for that.
Yeah, okay, that's the time, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it probably replaced the one right after, when I was there, that we bought, because when I first started, it was all like stopwatches. I mean,
They were still using stopwatches 4 years ago. Prior to since I've overseen the swim team, they were using stopwatches before the Colorado.
well, wait a minute, we had a Colorado system, what happened with it?
You know, since I've been in charge of the swim team,
They didn't have one?
they've not had it. No.
When I was there,
That's interesting, because we did buy one.
I was there 10 years ago, we didn't, that's when I first started.
Yeah.
And
They're
we
using
started
stopwatches.
before.
That's why it was such a big deal to have a Colorado. The
Oh,
Colorado
no,
was
that's,
such a
yeah,
big.
you have to have one nowadays.
But we never had one the whole time I was there.
Wow, we had one. So that's interesting. What happened to that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Pedro's there, he's been affiliated with the team longer than I have,
Yeah,
so.
you basically had one watch per lane as a backup if something failed. I mean, that's what you did.
No, we always used 3 stopwatches.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what we used.
Okay.
The whole
That's
time my
interesting.
daughter swam, which was 10 years ago up until
Yeah.
whatever, 2015, I just don't have year out there, it's
Right.
14, whatever,
Okay. Well, I was president about in 94, 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there. So I mean, it was over 20 years ago. But, right about the time I was leaving, we were getting a Colorado system.
Here, 07.
Yeah. Well, almost 10 years old. Interesting.
When I wrote this report last week, I had mentioned, you just mentioned a minute ago that, we are under kind of some time constraints, and I wanted to get this back to you if you were interested in looking a little bit closer at the September meeting. So much has happened since then with the new development we'll talk about here in a minute, and some other things. It might be, if it can't be by the October meeting, definitely would be by or September meeting, would be by the October meeting. And I think that's still, it's pushing it, but I think we can certainly inform them that the board certainly has an interest in pursuing this,
Oh, yeah.
if that's what you would like for us to do.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you need a motion, that's my.
No, all I need is for you to nod your head, you'd like for us to come back.
I'll go forward. Yeah.
I would like to go forward. I mean, not only, is it a recreation program, I mean, we do need to encourage kids to, to swim. I mean, it's an essential
Well, again-
life skill I have, as I view it.
Well,
So,
that was the prelude for both my kids being lifeguards and swim instructors. I mean, they got jobs there when they, turned 14, 15, 16. So
We will come back as soon as we can with a proposal for you. And if the board is okay, I certainly would like to reach out to Ada and Sarah and let them know that the board was supportive of us moving forward with this and coming up with some sort of plan.
Okay, you just said that something else came up, so.
Oh, it's just, no, it's just that we've had, well, not too long ago, we didn't know there was going to be another project, which is on my list to talk about. So I will just quickly go over everything else there and move on. I have the information I provided you on the facility use agreement for something extra. You have that. I've reached out to Dick Shanahan. Dick is in the process of developing a use agreement because we want to get this ratified by the end of the month. I'm pleased to say that the owner of Something Extra was, there was very little pushback on the rate increases, and I think I know why, but it's good that they're supportive of that and not trying to come in with something lower than that. So a couple quick things I wanted to bring to your attention. We have a new project. We have a Silverado Homes Alberta Park project. Well, there's a new one, and it's called the Lake at Antelope. It's located not too far from Silverado Homes, but with the former golf course property that some of you probably are familiar with. This is not a new project per se. This project actually went back a dozen years or so ago, and because the economy tanked, the project got put on hold. Well, we got notified about a week ago that not only is this project alive, they've already received their tentative map from the county, which means they're now finalizing the final map. Once you finalize the final map, you're not that far away from turning dirt over. So this one's going quite fast, and I just want to hit a couple of the highlights for you. First of all, the developer is Larry Lucero. They're anticipating, their plan calls for 304 residential units. Their tentative map has been approved. This development does not include a formal park, but would include green belt areas, creeks, and a pond, which it says pond on the plan, but then they call it the lake. And that's okay, but we are having discussions with them about Quimby fees, which are mandated fees that a developer has to pay or pay or give an equivalent to land. The tentative map, the conditions of the tentative map indicate that it's 4.65 acres or approximately $930,000. And then I put a question mark on that, and because those fees were agreed upon in 2006. I did ask our legal folks to confirm that fee is correct and that it doesn't adjust. And Dick said if the tentative map had been approved, then those fees are locked in. So I am also reaching out to, I asked Sarah who the county planner was he's working with, because if you try to call the county and want to speak to a planner, you might as well go down and camp out into their office because nobody's going to get to you. But he's going to provide all that information to me in the next couple of days. And then I just want to confirm those fees. It's really important because those fees could be double that if you were to go out and start that project today. But legally, if they entered into a tentative map, we may be locked into those fees. Now, those are fees not to be confused with the development impact fees, which is a fee which is $73.26 that we get for every home when a permit is pulled. We've talked about that before. That's what's paying for the construction of our park, and then some at Bird Park. So that is substantial. That's over, I think, a couple $1 million. And the good thing is, on both projects, when you combine them together, not too far down the road, we're going to be collecting new property tax revenue on 500 plus homes. That's more, really in many ways, that's more important than anything else, because those fees can be used for anything the district wants to use them for, where the Quimby fees are going to be very restrictive of what they can be used for. But I was told by, I can share this with you, but I was told by Blair Ross from SCI, don't publicize it, but that yes, you probably could use those fees to put towards a swimming pool because the district doesn't own one. So you have to create a nexus with the Quimby fees. You have to create a nexus between the project and what you do with the money. Now, we have a park nearby there. We could have no problem taking part of all that money and reinvest into that park. We could put a water feature in that park if we wanted to put a water feature in that park. But because that one has a nexus to that development, to put one on the other side of town would probably be a problem. But we're going to get more into this later on. I invited Mr. Lucero to come to our September board meeting, and he has agreed to do so. So I think between that time, now and then, we will learn a lot more about the project. I'll have a lot more answers, and he's going to be here for the board to ask as many questions as you want about that project. So it's a real positive thing, you know. I mean, two big developments. And when's the last big development we had here? So yeah, this is pretty significant. And so let's just, and again, we're not building another park. There's a question I have, and I think I shared it with Diane, is that because of all the water features of this development, I do have some concerns about district's ability to maintain those, and what that's going to take, and what are the potential problems with that. I keep on thinking about Stockton, how they have that algae that keeps on growing in their waterways, and how many millions of dollars they've dumped into that. But Blair did indicate there's a couple things the district could do. You could, besides, and I'm going to backtrack just a second, we likely have to create a new CFD. I know that the old one said that we could piggyback off it, because this is a significantly different project. We would have to create a new one, and that's 4 to 6 months to do that. You probably remember we talked about that one last time. We have to go through the voting and the whole stuff that we did before. But the conditions of approval indicate that we can either do a CFD or a landscape and lighting district. And I probably would go with the CFD since we already got one in place. But Blair indicated that it's possible that we could do a CFD where we do maintain the waterways, but we contract that out to a third party who specializes in that area. Or even better yet, if we convince the county to provide the maintenance responsibility for the waterways. And he said that may not fly or may fly. So we have some challenges, but it's kind of exciting at the same time. So we'll be bringing more information to the board, and Mr. Lucero will be here in October or September meeting.
DF softball update.
Before you move on. So, Ms. Richards, I believe you were on the board when this originally,
Yes.
and I would have bet my life on it that we were told there was a park in the plans.
That's what I kept telling Larry.
That's what
We
the board was told. We
Yeah,
were told there was a park in those plans.
turnkey.
We never saw them,
Right.
but we were told, because I believe it was Alan Hirsch who came and told us that there was a park planned for that development.
Well, Terry went down to archives yesterday
Yeah.
and has pulled me out a stack of documents, and I'm going to start going through those documents. Keep in mind, in 2006, the tentative plan was not approved.
Right.
The tentative plan was approved. I am a little kind of miffed that our district wasn't made aware of this, so we could get involved with this and see what was going on earlier. And if the board felt that a park could be there, we could do that. And the fact is, Mr. Lucero has indicated that it's his, and it's not his choice, it's the district's choice, it's the board's choice. His preference would be to pay us the fees,
Right.
rather than dedicate his 4.65 acres.
Yeah, that's a lot of houses.
Well, and one is try to find land for less than $1 million for 4.5
Right.
acres. It's
Right.
good land,
Yeah.
buildable land, and land where you actually need a park. We certainly have parks that need some help. So, what's the name of the park?
Sierra Creek.
Sierra Creek certainly could
Right across the way.
use an infusion, and then you might still have monies to put in, do other things with. But that was his preference, because he knows that the land is more expensive than
Yeah,
the
no,
fees.
right. It's more
But
than.
again, we're trying to get a definitive answer on those fees.
So this is next to Alberta Park?
Close
Close
to
to the golf course.
It's still
It's the
golf
golf
course.
It's further down.
Lawrence Link's golf
Lawrence
course.
Link's
Going up a lot.
just,
Right before the arbors.
yeah, I guess it would be the arbors.
Okay.
It's not, I lived too
Yeah,
long,
next to
that's
the
Cape
arbors,
Art.
it's the old course.
There's a lot of.
So what was the golf course?
It's gonna be all of that.
So anyway, we got a lot of information to do some research on and prepare for the board. And like I said, I'm sure that there'll be a lot of questions that you will have of Mr. Lucero. I plan on meeting with him in between now and the next meeting, and maybe I'll have some of those answers before the meeting. So a little bit talk about the DF softball. I contacted our legal folks a week and a half ago and said that we were ready to pursue going after Dennis Fong to recover the fees that he owes the district because of his inability to make payments per his contract. I received a detailed email back from Dick Shanahan, who has basically indicated that his recommendation is not to pursue. And there's several reasons why. I was disappointed, but I do understand. He said that the amount is not significant enough that it would be worth the district's time to pursue it legally through the courts. He said, much of whatever you think you might get, he says you're going to be eat up in legal costs because you're going to pay, but there's no guarantee on the other end you're ever going to collect. And he indicated that he checked with the state franchise tax board, and the board has suspended DF softball for failure to meet tax requirements, failure to file tax returns, failure to pay taxes. Excuse me. There's penalties and interests that are due the state, and that basically according to what I was told, Diane said, and Dick actually came back and said it again. That's the priority. They get paid first, you get paid second.
IRS, franchise tax board, I'm sure he owes for equalization, they'll be in there. Any
I'll go
other,
first.
all the taxing agencies.
Well, Dick indicated, he said, the board could decide to go through small claims, but your limit is 10,000. And he says, even if you get a favorable verdict, he says that the district would be in the same collection challenges. If there's no money there, there's no money there. He said, now in this case, there's a little out of your pocket, but he said, even if you wanted to just get in line to that, someday some money becomes available, remember, you're at the end of the food chain, you're not at the front of the food chain. So I'm kind of disappointed because the legal, one of his attorneys that he assigned to this project early on was really pushing strongly that this was the direction we should go in. And Dick has come back and just said, for $35,000-$40,000, he said, it's you're going to spend money and you have no guarantee to collect one penny.
It makes sense.
So he said, but if the district decided, the board decided they wanted to go in this direction, then he would begin that process. But I said I needed to bring it to your attention. So I don't think you have to make a decision because we hadn't made a board had not taken a vote to actually proceed forward.
It's on the agenda.
But it is kind of disappointing,
Yeah.
to say the least. So unless I hear anything from you, I won't be coming back to you.
No,
with
I mean, it makes full sense, and I've always trusted everything Dick has told us, so he's never steered us wrong yet.
Oh, by the way, I should probably mention too that Dick told me, I don't know if you know, Dick is also the city attorney for the city of Wheatland,
Yeah.
and he's dealt with Mr. Lucero many times over the years because Mr. Lucero's company bought 2,000 acres to develop out in Wheatland. So he said he's very, very familiar with them. He said this is a very sharp developer.
So do we need Dick at the next meeting too?
And lastly, I'm going to leave things on a positive note. Diane last week signed a letter on behalf of the board to Kay Dayhill. And
I thought she signed it this week though.
maybe she did. I can't remember. It's weeks going by so fast. Kay called me yesterday and was practically in tears. She was overwhelmed with I quoted her words, her emotion, her gratitude, and appreciation to the board. She said never in her life did she ever imagine something like this would ever happen. She goes, she knows there's a little plaque at Freedom Park, with her name on it. And she said she never expected, and this is a total surprise. And she intermittently would break down in tears and cry, and then just was, but so positive about it, and wanted me to thank you for doing this. And she looks forward to the time when it's all the project finished and there's a dedication ceremonies. But she wanted to just let you know that this is nothing she ever thought, even imagined would happen. And so I felt that was a nice phone call to have.
Are you sure she wasn't crying because on the CC, I'm not the chair anymore?
Only you, Alan.
So anyway, that wraps up my administrator's report.
All right, I just know, growing up in the area that a lot of people I grew up with and just can't say enough good words about Kay and what she's done for the community.
Oh,
So
no.
it's,
I've never heard anyone say anything bad about Kay, ever.
my only regret is that we couldn't have done it a little sooner where some of the folks who really advocated for the community that are no longer with us cannot be at the dedication. So, but
Kay's had a couple of tragic events in her life too.
yes,
Yeah.
so, I mean, she's been very, very involved, with the community the last 40 plus years. So
I wish I could have
very well
recorded the phone
deserved.
call because I think there'd be a few tears that shed in this room. Yeah, it was a very positive and emotional phone call, and I just wanted to share that with you. I'm sure when you see her at the dedication, she's certainly going to personally thank you if she doesn't do it before then.
Well, when we do the dedication, there's a lot of people that we should invite. Like, for example, Roger Dickinson. I mean, he was a huge supporter and, pretty close with Kay.
Well, probably some, Mark, or excuse me, Scott and I were talking yesterday about when we're going to break ground on the project, and our goal is we want to get that done as soon as possible. I think when we say break ground sometime in mid-September. And again, we're going to have to work kind of through, while the operations are going on in the facility, and the guys are doing it in addition to their regular work, because we're doing it in-house.
Right.
I should get a draft copy of the construction plans back from landscape architect soon. And we'll share those with the board as well, so you'll see what it's proposed to look like.
All right, thank you. Anyone have any questions of Larry? All right, Scott.
Well, I'll briefly share three items that were not in my written report. First one is the roof project with streets is moving forward. They stripped the old shingles off yesterday. And the good news is the plywood substructure is in really good shape. Doesn't look like we'll have to replace too much of that. The shingles will go on, the new shingles and felt paper will go on tomorrow and Saturday. And everything should be done in time for the kids to come back to school on Monday without the noise of construction going on. The work at the softball complex is moving along briskly. I did put a brief synopsis of what has gone on, or went on in July with the stairs and the irrigation and kind of just hauling some old trash out. We kind of turned our focus to the restrooms now. We'll be putting, at Larry's direction, we'll be putting new toilets in, new sinks. We've already replaced some of the faucets. The floor in both restrooms will be painted and sealed. The walls will get a fresh coat, so hopefully they'll, be able to impress any potential investors in the facility. Last thing I wanted to talk about is, as you're well aware, the Fulton Oak Communal Police Department, we're now using for our park patrols. Their primary hours of operation are Thursday through Sunday from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's really working out very, very well, and it's a nice change from previous contractors we use in that I can send emails to the supervising sergeant and get immediate response. I can give him feedback on this particular vehicle or this individual, and they're on it. They are writing citations, they are making arrests. I think I mentioned last month and a month before that they've made some narcotics arrests in some of our parks, which is concerning, but it's gratifying that we have the police out there now that are making a difference. He shared with me in an email today that he's made a special effort to get to know all the areas of our district himself before he starts to farm out some of the patrol responsibilities to their entire department. He's seeing a lot of gang activity in our neighborhoods, but he's pleased to report he hasn't seen any that have filtered into our parks. So it's very good to, like I said, it's very nice to work with an individual that we can actually contact and immediate things are being done. So a lot of those cars you see in Brock Park, they've already received citations. If they receive any more citations, they're going to get impounded and towed away. So that's been a good change and a benefit to our district. So that's all I have.
All right, anyone have any questions of Scott?
Did we, closing of the parks, did we?
We haven't taken that next step. We wanted to let the new security kind of kick in and see if we can do it without the added expense of having someone do that. If we don't get the impact that we were hoping for, then that would be, everything's in place. The gates are ready, the keys, the locks, and everything.
All right, thank you, Scott. Mark?
I have a couple things. First, we already talked about the swim team, but just talking about their accomplishments this season. So we all know they finished 4-1 this season, but they went to championships this year, and we placed third, which is a huge leap for us this year. We finished third by 1 point. So, in speaking to Travis about this, so next year we're in a 6-team conference, and one of our teams, we're the only league that has a 6-team conference in all of Warren County. Sacktown, which has probably 30 more swimmers than anybody else, is going to be leaving our league and going to a different conference. So as Travis said, it's really a 5-team race, put a more of a positive spin on it. So we essentially finished second place. And we did that with 68 swimmers. We have 110 on the team, and a majority of them were, because of religious purposes, they can't be there on Sundays or previous vacations. So for us to overcome that and to almost take the whole championships is a big deal. We're hoping to build on that. It is a big accomplishment. So we had 5 swimmers this year, finished in high points, which means they're their first, second, or third in their age division. That's the first time. I had to ask Travis what high points was, because it's been a while. So we've had somebody who's high points, so that was a big accomplishment for them. And the next is our rec guide will be out on Monday, they're gonna hit, it's gonna go out in the mail on Monday. If you guys wanna see a preview of it, which I think Diane saw today, we did place it up on our Facebook page. So you guys can go and see, the programs we have coming up. We have a lot of new programs going on over at K Park, like a cardio boxing course. We have pickleball, other special events we have coming up. But it is all on our website, and it's up on Facebook page.
I'm sorry, I did forget one of the most important things, to let you know that the request for proposal for Freedom Park softball complex will be released on Monday.
That's
Where's the red guy?
Yep. Makes it more topical, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you gotta talk about that, about the summer camp. Oh my gosh, I wanna go join the kids. That looks so fun.
They're having a good time. What's been tough is the smoke.
Yeah.
So for the last couple of weeks, we've really been kind of hunkered down more in the community center because of the air quality and stuff. But no, summer camp's been it's been going great. Today they went to the Folsom Zoo. We always have a good time. So yeah, summer camp's great. I think it's been important. We just had our expanded learning meeting tonight, our parent mandatory meeting, where we meet all the parents and go into Ridgepoint next year. Derek has been a real big improvement for us. And he's the person that's running our summer camp. Just seeing him interact with parents tonight, he's a natural at it. We're going to see a lot of improvement in that program. We've been able to maintain our families throughout the year for summer camp. He's been great. He's great at building relationships. That's important to us.
Right, awesome.
You said next year it's gonna be at Ridgepoint?
No, I'm sorry. That's confusing. We have our after-school care program at Ridgepoint.
Yeah.
We had that parent meeting tonight. Derek is trained. So to keep our person kind of full-time, not full-time, but to keep him working year-round, they run summer camp, and then Derek will transition as our site supervisor at Ridgepoint. So but meeting him tonight, he's great. In terms of personality, interacting with parents, he's fantastic.
All right, any more questions for Mark? Terry? No? Okay. Correspondence, we don't have any comments or reports from citizens and organizations, You're welcome to come. We put a warm welcome out on the signboard on Watt Avenue. Please come in the future. So, unfinished business, none. Item 10, new business. A resolution 563, approval of the fiscal year 18-19 final budget. So, did committee want to do a report?
I don't know, I was gonna ask Larry, are we doing it, do you wanna do it? I mean, it doesn't matter, so, first of all, I do wanna thank staff for getting it done by this meeting, so we didn't have to have a special meeting, so kudos to Terry on that. And Larry I'm assuming Larry, they laid it out, the summary of what the differences are between proposed budget and final budget. And I'm not gonna sit here and read all that, so I don't know if anybody had any questions, they want to go over anything specific. I'm just gonna.
Maybe just mention that from the preliminary to the final budget,
Right.
excuse me, we had $15,000, almost $16,000 less in expenditures, and approximately $30,000 more revenue.
Right. So if no one has any questions, I'm going to make a motion to approve resolution 563 in the amount of $2,085,936 for the budget for the Park District for 2018-19.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, resolution 564, approval of the fiscal year 18-19 appropriation unit schedule. So Alan, you do an awesome job of explaining
So
this.
this was something that was passed back in 1979, was amended in 88, I think it was, I don't remember. But basically there was a baseline year that what our taxes were, and based upon per capita growth and cost of living, that based on those two factors, it increases every year. So if you go to the page behind that in your packet, it shows how that was calculated based upon what it was for last year, and then you throw in the two calculations, and then it increased by 1.05% basically. So now, the comical thing is, it's $6.5 million. So if we collect property taxes over that amount, we have to either refund it, spend it on capital improvements, or I can't remember what the third thing is. But yeah, so there's like nobody close to their appropriation limit anymore. It's just it's a way to keep taxes and spending at an even keel growth-wise. So based on that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to pass resolution 564, the appropriation limitation for 2018-19 in the amount of $6,572,586.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, item 10C, resolution 565, approval of the fiscal year 2018-19 final budget for the Cherry Blossom Park, or Alberta Park budget.
CAD.
CFD, Community Facilities District.
Am I doing this one too?
Sure.
Oh, no, go ahead, Larry, you can do this.
Well, the difference between the preliminary and the final budget was a difference of $65, and,
It was virtually the same.
yeah, virtually the same.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution 565 for the Community Facilities District number 2016-01 in the amount of $57,552.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, we have payment of bills, so all included was a full fiscal years 17-18 detail summary, and also the August 2018 billing report. So does anyone have any questions of staff on either report?
I see you all the time. I'm waiting.
I thought I had a question, but then I don't see where my note is.
So do we own a popcorn snow cone machine, or are we still
We do
leasing
now.
that?
We do
Okay,
now.
cool.
We see in all of our special events, and summer camp has been testing them out, so we're great.
All right.
No, that's coming. That's next week.
What do you think, Alan?
You know, every time I see one, I enter turn in one.
You got one now.
Okay.
You're great.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to ratify payment of the bills.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Motion passes. The next regular meeting of the North Highlands Recreation Park District Board of Directors will be on Thursday, September 13th at 2018 at 6:30 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just thought of something, because at the last meeting, we voted to have a special meeting. So do we have to do anything to say we're not having that now, or not?
I don't think we ever.
Because we never publicized
Yeah, we
it.
never, you agreed to have one, but we never
Okay,
voted it.
that's fine, just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify that, because I
Okay.
remember,
Thank-
yeah.
Thank you, Alan.
Just vote on canceling it, just.
Yeah, for something like
Yeah,
that, all
we-
we'd have to do is Diane just has to say cancel it, and she did.
Okay.
Okay,
Cancel it.
unless you really think we need to
No,
meet next
we're
week,
good.
okay. Okay, so the meeting is September 13th at 6:30, North Highlands Recreation Center, 6040 Watt Avenue, North Highlands. This meeting is adjourned.